Welcome to Power Charting. I'm Bruce Frazier, your host, and today we have a very special session on self-analysis, peak performance mental states for trading. And with us is Joe Turner, and Joe is becoming a regular on Power Charting, and we are really thrilled to have him because Joe has 50 years of professional experience in this industry, has remarkable mastery of his processes and his methodologies. And the best part is that he's so generous that he wants to share what he knows with us. And we have done a tremendous amount of work on peak performance mental states, attempting to achieve a peak performance results in our trading. And so we're going to have a discussion about that today. And Joe, welcome.
Thanks, Bruce, and thanks for the opportunity. It's with 50 years of experience, that's like 50 years of making a lot of mistakes and false starts and so on. But I love to share the things that I and we have learned, over those years. And this whole concept of self-analysis is probably one of the most important foundations that an investor can have. And just to relate a little bit that people can have some sort of appreciation for that, let me just go through a little path that I have gone through, because I think a lot of people will probably identify at some point in that very path. And probably we have a lot of technicians or market students that are listening and watching the program today. But I started out when I found out I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, just started trying to figure out market behavior, collected a lot of indicators, came to the conclusion the business cycle for me was a good way to coordinate asset allocation and decisions, investment profiles. And I was pretty comfortable with that. Then I got interested in psychology because I was fascinated with the fact that many times the stock market acted in a manner that was contrary to what the given wisdom of the day and what the experts were saying and how everybody was essentially placing their bets. And that whole concept of contrary opinion really is nothing more than a basic definition, measuring the emotions of the crowd out there or the players. And I got fascinated enough to want to teach psychology of investing at Golden Gate, and developing the curriculum and teaching the course. It really came down to, well, where is Joe in this crowd of emotional animals? It's like, it's one thing to be outside looking at a situation, but it's another thing if you're inside that situation. So easy to study crowd psychology, much more difficult to act with your emotions. And that really started the journey, of who I am. The thing that really caught my attention was so many times I'd be on the wrong side of an action. And I recognized in myself, part of that was I was unresourceful. I was in a state of mind that really did not help me make the proper decision. A lot of fear in decision making. And I had, normal, and everybody has this, the fear of losing, the fear of being wrong, the fear of rejection, the fear of looking stupid, all the anger, the market went against me, all of these emotions. And it's like, wow, this is, none of this is helpful to good decision making. What I really wanted was a path to peak performance, a path to mastery in making decisions. So that's when I started the quest and looking for help out there. And fortunately, and you and I did this together, Bruce, in the mid 80s, was we hired a performance coach, a young psychologist just starting out. His name was Van Tharp down in Southern California. And you and I spent some time there, gave us some tools. I think the most important thing that Van gave to us was something that was not related to the market at all. It was more of a spiritual path, and that was the Course of Miracles. But what the Course of Miracles for me was about, and you could probably talk a whole lot more on this, Bruce, but for me it was like forgiveness. I could forgive myself for being wrong or for not having complete knowledge or whatever. Van also introduced us to Ed Sakota, and things like Sakota introduced us to focused breath work, or another name for that is holotropic breath work, which is holotropic means moving to wholeness, and the system developed by Stan Groff. Hypnotherapy opened the door to me to actually becoming licensed as a therapist there. And the whole concept then that really started out that started gaining traction was behavioral economics. We also started a group of like-minded investors and traders that got together to share issues, share problems, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But that was the Zims group, just fellow traders, fellow investors that were trying to overcome issues and obstacles and so on to making good decisions and furthering their path to mastery. So lots of different techniques for helping along the path. All of that basically boils down to something called self-analysis. And self-analysis is one of the and the first task for top traders, the 10 tasks of top traders. But the self-analysis we're talking about here today is the deeper state analysis. And what are you going to do with this is help manage your mental states and help manage your emotional states. And this is key then to having these feelings come up, and they're fine, but you have tools to manage that system. That will give you, if you go through those steps, will give you further to the point of having peak performance. So that's the path to mastery. And the reason that we need to do these things, and this is it's so counter to our to our rational brains that emotions and mental states are the place to go, because we all think that, gee, all you have to do is come up with the right reason, the stock markets are rational or whatever. The fact is, reasons are optional. And the biggest enemy for all of us in this business is the opinions that we hold or others hold who sway our thought process, sway our mental and emotional conditions. But the biggest enemy in this business is the opinions and emotions, and our emotions. So those are just, it's a little path that brought me to the fact it isn't just studying the markets that is the key to success and being a peak performer in the marketplace, but rather understanding ourselves. One of the concepts out there that might be hard for most of you to believe, but success in trading, success in investing is 40% risk control and 60% or thereabouts, 60% self-control. It's not about making money. If you manage risk and manage yourself, you will make money.
Well, the thing about, say, for instance, reasons are optional. I don't know who that BF guy is, but the reasons for making trades are almost antithetical to good trading. So if I could, I said this like years ago. So I'm gonna argue with myself, and that is that we develop methodology, we develop decision-making systems that we act on, and the reason for acting on a methodology on a system is because we have confidence in it. We back tested it, we know how it works, and we act on it appropriately in a timely manner. And when we start to include reasons, say we argue with ourselves about what's going on out in the world, you know, it's like, oh, the yield curve's flattening or this or that's happening, and and then we say, oh, I'm not going to act on that. It can create problems in our trading. It's a step away from mastery, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Our biggest enemy in the business is opinions and emotions. Well, here's the problem, and this is a very subtle quote, is that we never can discard opinions and emotions in our lives. Emotions are very much a part of our makeup, and we make decisions in the markets not based on the charts or based on the indicators. We make our decisions based on our emotions about the indicators. So we reach a point where we feel good enough that, or we see the signal, we feel good, we act, or we see the signal, we feel bad, and we don't act, or we act to run away. And so emotions are always there, but what we need to do is train our emotions for successful decision making. And therein lies the rub, and this is what we're going to talk about. So go ahead, Joe.
So I was just going to say, you're touching on behavioral decision making, and something that our friend Hank Prudent explained or brought out in his book. Let you take over, just talking about Hank's 3 skills for top trading.
Well, we're going to talk in a minute about the Zims group, and the Zims group's a very dynamic group that met for 9 years and worked on these issues, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. Much of the work in Hank's book was inspired by the work we did in the Zims group, and among other things that he did that were amazing and very thought-provoking. But notice the subtitle. So the 3 skills for top trading is a mastery statement. So this is our mission. This is the reason we're having this discussion today, is because we want for you and us to be committed to our mastery path. Well, look at the subtitle: Behavioral Systems Building, Pattern Recognition, and Mental State Management. Well, pattern recognition actually is a trading methodology. In this case, he's talking about Wyckoff, but it could be any number of different things based on each individual. Behavioral systems building is about our behavior. It's about us recognizing and managing our behavior and having a behavioral system for interacting with our methodologies, our pattern recognition, in this case methodology, but whatever it might be. And then mental state management, meaning that we're in the proper mental states for the activity that we're doing. And there's a number of proper mental states for a number of different actions or activities. We'll talk about that. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about the Zims group.
Well, this outcome was again started by our friend Hank Pruden, and a group that of people that did investors, traders, fund managers, that in fact wanted to further understanding their behavior. And this is where it's so important. One of the things that just absolutely floored me, still does today, about the group is, and I can't tell you how many times this came up in our monthly meetings, but the whole sense of worthiness. And somebody would be talking about their problems of trading, and it really came down to trying to live up to some image that was developed in childhood, but where the whole thing about making it hard to trade, taking a profit or taking a loss, recognizing the loss, had to do with, am I worthy? And that was just a behavior that just really struck me incredibly. But and also it just showed that all of us have these issues. So it wasn't, and we're talking about people that were really out there to pursue the truth, to try to understand how to make better decisions. But our whole culture, our wiring system as human beings, so much of this is geared to, making it difficult for us to be successful. But the Zims group was just a fabulous learning platform for so many of the concepts. In fact, I think one of the concepts that Hank, working with Van Tharp, came up with were the whole issue of the 10 tasks of top traders from that group, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, actually. And the other thing that we did in the Zims group, and we did this ongoing for 9 years, was that we hired NLP practitioners, neuro-linguistic programming practitioners, and that is all about helping us to program our mental states to be in the best possible mental state we can be in for the trading task that we're doing. And so we did, for instance, the first Market Wizards book came out early on in our 9-year Zims group program. And so we went in and identified the top tasks of the Market Wizards in their interviews. And we went through and we carefully studied all of the interviews and then parsed and looked for the evidence of the key things that they were doing that were very important to their mastery. And so this was something that was very, very helpful to us. One of the things that came out of it was this 10 tasks of top traders model by Van Tharp and Hank Pruden. And so what we're basically going to focus on today in the time that we have left is self-analysis. Here it's daily self-analysis. Joe, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, just quickly how we applied these tasks to some of the top traders in the world, which are who the Market Wizards are, but just finding out how they would, for example, go through their self-analysis and how they would then create, and mental rehearsals, but they would create systems or methods to manage their mental states. And they did this by understanding where they were, what their emotional state was, and how to manage that properly. That was other techniques that came out of self-analysis. Has to do with the parts. How many times have you heard, or you have done yourself, said, well, there's part of me that wants to do this, there's part of me that wants to take a profit because I can't stand it, but another part of me says, let the trend go. We learned to listen to those voices, if you would, and those different parts, and negotiate those. I think Hank had the best example of different parts of Hank, which was the banker, the conservative one, and then the gambler. And he just learned and taught the rest of us how to negotiate and how to have these different parts talk to each other so that one's not destructive or angry or upset that their voice wasn't being heard. But parts, visualization, we learned how to take the pressure or the stress from decision making. I think we had one woman trader who used comic characters. I think it was whatever the Hobbes, Calvin Hobbes or whatever, but applying that to, if you could imagine developing a low risk idea, stalking, whatever the task at hand was, and how they handled that. We had somebody else develop songs and lines from or lyrics from different songs to apply to the different actions. Can you imagine how easily it would be to take profits or to abort when you're listening to Kenny Rogers singing, you know, there's a time to walk away, there's a time to play, a time to walk away. So it just, so you found out you weren't alone, that you, in fact, whatever emotion popped up, you could have some sort of mental strategy that could help with that decision, or with that whatever mental state was required for that particular task. So the self-analysis part is so critical to success and getting on the path to mastery. It's probably the biggest, most foundational issue that we all have. It's just understanding our emotional, our mental states, and then having techniques or tools. And that's all that came out of the Zims group. Were just wonderful methodologies to do that.
So each of these 10 tasks has a unique mental state that goes with it, and that it was argued that each of these tasks is part of a mastery trader's trading system. Now, there may be other things that are involved, but that each one of these requires, because they're all actionable in different ways, but each one of them requires a different mental state, a different proper mental state to be able to be in that space. There's a proper mental state for action, which is trading. There's a proper mental state for stalking a trade, for monitoring the trade once you put it on, and aborting a trade, which is to take a loss or take a profit, etc. And so as time goes on, we will continue to pursue each of these 10 tasks and others in our quest for mastery. So here is a model that we put together 30 years ago. And it's a mental model, so mental state management. And it really does sort of establish the paradox or the difficulty in being able to be in the right emotional mental states for trading success. And so what we have over here on the right side is we have in the purple boxes, we have these unhealthy mental states or unhealthy conditions that work against our success. The one thing we notice in trading is that we tend to make the same mistakes over and over again. Well, part of the reason for that is because we have unconscious beliefs that have been installed in us over a lifetime. And those unconscious beliefs, we all have them. And they work for other things, but they don't necessarily work for trading. The other thing is this produces habitual patterns. And so we have habits of trading, habits of thinking, etc., that affect our ability to be able to make the most appropriate decision in our system. And then finally, we have the external, which is, the external is like having indicators. The indicators in the market, we have all these indicators, which are actually external to our mental state management, which is the most important thing. And we discovered with the market wizards was that market wizards would have major failures in their trading. and they would reinvent themselves and be remarkably successful. Start. Okay, so you can see in the center here that we have me, the trader. We have the signal which comes from our system, our trading system. We either choose to take the signal or reject the signal. So when we reject the signal, we're actually acting incongruently with our designed trading system. But either way, we either take the signal or reject the signal, we're still going to get an outcome. Both of these are decisions. One's a constructive decision, one's not. The other thing that's a paradox here is that we have these habitual patterns, unconscious beliefs, which means that they're largely invisible to us. And this is a problem, because if they're invisible to us, that means that and this is the reason we keep making these mistakes over and over again, is because we're acting on unconscious beliefs that we hold, that we just keep repeating them over and over. This is the reason we need to become conscious about our decision making. And so let's go on here, and you can see on the healthy side, it starts with desirable outcome. Well, this is goal setting. This is that true burning desire, that determination to become a masterful trader in the realm or the way that you choose to be engaged in the markets. This is really important. So then we have a stated outcome, which is our desirable goal setting, our vision of ourselves in the markets being successful and being truly engaged in that in a passionate way. Meditations, well, meditations are very powerful, because this is where we practice proper mental state management for each of the 10 tasks and more. So we're doing mental rehearsal of the proper mental states that we want to be in to act in these different situations. And so what the effect of that, and of course the other thing is that we're raising our desired decision-making processes and our emotional states to consciousness. We're saying that consciously, this is the state I want to be in as I'm going through and trading. The internal here is that we have internalized our entire trading methodology, from emotions to decision-making processes, and we've decided that we're going to be conscious about them. We're going to align our parts. We're going to get everything aligned in a way that we can be really, really good at this. We're going to make mistakes. The right side of the equation over here is going to keep exerting influence on our process. It's going to have an effect on our decision making. So here we are. And so summary, number one, self-analysis is the key to successful, masterful trading. Don't bring your baggage into the markets. The best investment you will ever make is knowledge of self. And so being aware of your internal states and how you can organize them in such a way that you can be on your best game all the time in every situation is our mastery path. So with that, Joe, thank you so much for your time today, and we will do this again.
Join us April 1st to April 5th to celebrate our 20th anniversary here at StockCharts.com with special guests Arthur Hill, Greg Morris, Gaddis Rose, Martin Pring, and John Murphy. Tune in to Market Watchers Live at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time during the week of April 1st to April 5th to help us celebrate.